they've got to look out for their own families. They wouldn't vote for it if it wasn't going to be a good deal. And just like Walmart is able to leverage a really good price from its suppliers for everything because they're such a big purchaser, well, this pool will be a big purchaser, and it will be able to get a better deal from insurance companies. So that's point number one. That will drive down the prices for people who are participating, and it will allow everybody to get a decent deal on insurance. And what we do is we provide tax credits to people who still can't afford it so that they can afford it. That's point number one. Point number two is we've got the strongest insurance reforms in history. So all those things I told you about, you not being able to get insurance because of a pre-existing condition, you finding yourself getting dropped, even though you've been paying premiums for 15 years and suddenly they just decide, sorry, we don't want you because you're getting sick, those policies will be over. And so you will be protected as a consumer to make sure you've got security and protection if you've got insurance already. That's the second thing we do. The third thing we do is we actually put in place a whole bunch of mechanisms to start reducing the actual cost of health care. So, for example, one of the things that we do is to say we're going to start encouraging paying doctors not based on how many tests they take, but based on the quality of the outcome. Does somebody end up healthy? And it turns out that a lot of times, you know, if you go to the doctor, you get one test, then you go referred to a specialist, you get another test, then maybe you go to a third person, the surgeon, you get a third test. It's all the same test, but you're paying 3 times. So what we're trying to say is, we'll pay you for the first test and then email the test to everybody. Right? Or have all 3 doctors in the room when the test is being taken. But that's an example of the kinds of things that save money and will start reducing costs over the long term. So what we've done is we've embedded in how Medicare reimburses, how Medicaid reimburses, all these ideas to actually reduce the costs of care. So our hope is that over time, over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, because of all these changes, that we've actually saved money from this, even though more people are covered. And so now you'll hear the critics and the Republicans say, now that just defies common sense. If you're adding 30 million more people, then it's got to cost more money, and you can't pretend like somehow that's going to help us on the deficit. I've heard this criticism, I understand it. But let me give you an example. If you've got a house and you've got a big hole in your roof, and it's raining and snowing through that roof, and there's some people who are inside the rooms where the roof's okay and they're nice and warm, and then you got a few, of your family members in that room where there's a big hole in the roof, and they're shivering and they're cold. If you repair the roof, that's going to cost some money. But if all the water damage from your floors and all the heat that's going out of the roof and all, you count all those savings over time, it may turn out that it actually is saving you money. And by the way, all those family members now are warm too. You're not the only one who's warm, right? That's essentially what we're trying to set up. Now, last point I want to make. All those savings that we're anticipating, we don't even count those when it comes to making sure that this is deficit neutral. Here are the 2 ways that we're paying for this thing. Number one, we are eliminating a whole bunch of waste, fraud, and insurance subsidies that were being paid out under Medicare that aren't making our seniors any healthier. I mean, you've got a pretty sweet deal for insurance companies right now in a program called Medicare Advantage, where they get $18 billion a year paid to them to manage a Medicare program that about 80% of seniors are getting directly from the government, and it's working just fine. It's just a subsidy to them that doesn't make anybody healthier. So what we're saying is, well, let's eliminate the subsidy. So that's about how we pay for half of this thing. The other half of it, it is true that we have identified some additional taxes that we think are fair. And let me describe, just to give you an example. I don't think this will affect you, but I don't know, your family circumstances. Right now, if you're on salary, you get your salary from Celgard or any of the companies around here. You're paying your Medicare tax on all of that, right? You see it on it's part of your FICA. But if you're Warren Buffett and you get most of your money from dividends and capital gains,